Hey there, my name is Anthony and welcome back to Break the Twitch. In this video, I'm going to share a little bit about the reasons behind why we created this office space, why my wife and I invested money and time in creating this room. And it's not just because we're starting a podcast. There's another major reason why we ended up doing this, especially the fact that this was not in our original plan. This was not our plan of what we wanted to create, how we thought we would be creating for Break the Twitch. So I wanted to share exactly why that transition happened and hopefully give you some ideas around creating your own space for creativity, for creation, and how some of these things might be able to help you as well.
Break the Twitch.
So the origin of this story is basically several years ago. When I started Break the Twitch, it was just a side project for me. It was something that I was very passionate about, and I started talking about my own explorations of minimalism through the lens of Break the Twitch. So wanting to pursue a more intentional life for myself, for my family, and at the time I was working full-time at another job. So I was the marketing director of the bike share company here in Minneapolis. And that was what I did from 9 to 5. It was a salary job, and that job required me to be here, right here in Minneapolis all the time, except for when I took vacation, as most kind of normal jobs require. And it was right about that time that I started meeting other bloggers, other entrepreneurs, and YouTubers and people that were talking about the idea of location independence. And the idea of location independence is essentially you can work from anywhere. You can create from anywhere. If you're a YouTuber, if you're a blogger, or however it is that you make your living, you can do it remotely and you have complete freedom. And to me at the time, that sounded really appealing. So that led to the creation of our media company, which makes films for companies, nonprofits, and other entrepreneurs as well. That is a relatively location-free business. We have to fly to different places like Alaska, or we worked in Phoenix or Mexico, and we felt like that aligned very well with what both Amy and I wanted out of life. We were looking for location flexibility. And that was a very appealing idea. It's a really sexy sort of lifestyle as it's portrayed on social media. And we ended up having some experiences around that as well. So 2 years ago, we went to the Dominican Republic for 2 weeks where we stayed in an Airbnb that was much like just a place that we would rent long term. And we did some exploring and hanging out, but we also tried to sit down and work, to write and be creative and go to a cafe and do the work that I wanted and needed to do for Break the Twitch, to create new videos and things like that. And here is what I learned about myself. I had this dream of this very sexy idea of being a digital nomad and being free and traveling all over the world and working and having this kind of lifestyle. And in the end, after trying it a few times in limited quantities, sort of test runs, I realized and found out that I'm really quite bad at it, that I really thrive in routine with a relatively regular schedule, and sometimes that I need to sort of externalize that, because in my brain, I have probably what's referred to as a creative brain. So instead of having that organization and that system in my head that can be applied like a cookie cutter to any cafe I'm in the world, it's really hard for me to just set up and whip open a laptop, whether I'm in an airport or in a cafe, and just write some stuff. Like I really need to sit and embrace and have that sort of consistency for me to do well. Even recently, we just transitioned back from living in Phoenix to here in Minneapolis. And that transition alone was such an uprooting, such an upheaval of everything I was used to for the months that we were in Phoenix, that it's still taking me time to really settle in and get used to this process. So in a big, grand sense, our vision of what we wanted completely changed. Our vision of what was the right solution for us changed, and we're adapting to it. That is the underlying story. I really struggled to focus, to work creatively, and to get back into my creative habit when I was on the road or when I was in the airport. I struggle to write or do creative work on airplanes because sometimes I get motion sick if I'm on my laptop and there's turbulence. So there's just a bunch of different reasons why I found out that I wasn't particularly good at doing this, where some people might be super creative when they're uncomfortable, when they're out of their routine. That was not the case for me. What I found is that I'm more creative, I'm more productive, I feel better about myself and the work I'm doing when I have a consistent place to do it. And so that tells you the story of why we created this space when we got back here to Minneapolis. As much as it is nice to have an aesthetically pleasing place to just work in on a regular basis, we realized that we're probably going to be more rooted. My life's work is doing this work in exploring minimalism, habits, and creativity right here for Break the Twitch. And I really am passionate about it, and I love exploring it through my own failures and misunderstandings, and then sharing that with you. That's what I feel like I'm here to do. I think it's really important to realize that just because this idealistic lifestyle works for some people, if you happen to have a really organized brain and you can just pop open your laptop and knock out an article or knock out an idea for a video without any effort and it works for you, that's great. That lifestyle of traveling and being in lots of different places all the time and never knowing where you're gonna eat next, that might work really well. But it doesn't work for everyone. And that's just sort of the nature of the world and the nature of advice. The thing that I thought was going to be very appealing and work really well for me just simply did not, at least in the current form. So think about that as you are shaping your own life. Think about what it means to you to shape and build the space for your own creativity. And I don't just mean creating videos or painting, but creating the space for you to enter a comfortable, regular place that inspires you to do the work that you want to do. Maybe not what you do for a job, but the work between 5 p.m. and 10 p.m., the work of showing up for your family, of practicing a craft, of advancing a skill that you have, something that you need to focus on and do regularly, whether it's a meditation habit or anything. You can create the space for that, whether it's physical or whether it's emotional or whether it's just mental space. All of these things are within your capability. And it might not look like you think it's going to look initially. And that is the beautiful thing about life.